Hey, everyone. It's your girl, Ebony Sunshine, aka Coach Sunshine, whatever you know me as. That's what you know me as. I just needed to get on here actually to vent. And when I do this, it's because I know that other people out there deal with the same things, and somebody will come across this video, and I hope that it will help you out in some kind of way. As I'm just basically just yapping, I'm just going to be venting a little bit about some things. If you read the title, this is going to be a little yap session about navigating life after a spiritual awakening. Let's start here. I began my spiritual awakening back in 2012 when I lost my father. My father was actually unalive by his wife that he'd been married to for 6 months. She was a girlfriend of his. I actually did not even know that he'd even married this lady. I never got along with her. We got off on the bad foot because I knew her before he did. I didn't know her like deeply, but I had given her a ride before. She's a cousin of my sister's friend. And so once I realized or learned that they were in a relationship, I was very confused because when I met her, I specifically asked her, did she know my father? Because where I was dropping her off at was a pool hall where my dad would go and shoot pool often. So I was just asking her, did she know my father and my uncle because they both would frequent that place? And she told me no. So I'm not going to tell this whole story because I actually want to do a little multiple part series on this whole thing, but I'm going to tell enough to lead to where I am now. So after asking her, did she know my dad and my uncle? She said she did not know them. But fast forward, I go to my dad's house one day and I see her there. And he's introducing me to her because he doesn't even realize or know that I actually know her. And she never acknowledges that she knows me at all. Like, it was so crazy to me that she looked me in my face and never said anything about knowing me. And at that moment, I was confused. I was like, well, maybe that's not her. So I didn't bring it up. I didn't say, I remember you or anything. It just wasn't that type of moment. So I didn't bring it up. And I've never been very combative with my dad. I've never like interfered with his personal life or anything. But fast forward a little bit, they're in a relationship. Some at some point, because my dad and I got into a misunderstanding, or I wouldn't even say it was a misunderstanding. It was a point where we really didn't speak at all, and at one point we didn't speak for 3 years actually. And I wouldn't say we didn't speak. I was reaching out to him. He wasn't speaking to me. There was a situation that I will go into deeper when I do the little mini sit down uh docu series or whatever you want to call it. I'll go deeply into that at that time. But right now, I'm just gonna say we didn't speak. There was one point we didn't speak for close to 3 years. So we start speaking again. Actually, he ended up breaking up with that lady, and he goes back to my stepmother. My stepmother helped raise me, so I was very close to my stepmom. I loved her deeply as like my mother. I also had my biological mother as well, but I love my stepmom. So whenever I found out that they were back talking and cordial, I was happy about that. And that lasted for a brief moment. I don't know the ins and outs of that because at that time I wasn't living at home. Because even when my dad left my stepmom, I was still living at home with my stepmom. So at that time I was not living at home. I was an adult and I was living on my own. But um okay, so they started back talking, or they were cordial. And I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened in that moment, in that time where they were talking. But at some point, they stopped talking to one another, and me and my dad, we were still cordial. We were still talking, not like an everyday thing, but we still had some sort of a relationship. But I didn't. Now I'm starting to see him with this lady again. Like I would go to my grandmother's house, and he and her would be there. They didn't live there, but it would be times where I would go to my grandmother's house and they would be there. Um, and so I realized that they were back together. Now, at no point did he ever tell me that he'd married this lady. There was a little argument he and I had over her because he felt like I was disrespecting her but not speaking to her. But I didn't have anything to say to her. I'm a grown woman, and I just didn't want to speak to her. I just knew I could read her energy. I knew she was about something that was going to come. I didn't never ever would I have thought in a million years that she would do what she did, but something about her just wasn't right. It just wasn't never it never sat right with me. She had a look in her eyes that just didn't look safe at all to me. I could like see through her almost. But fast forward, um my dad passes away due to the at fault of hers, and I'm going to do a whole series about this soon. So I want to leave that there. I'm just going to say my dad passed away at fault of hers. Fast forward, that happened in 2012. 2012 is what started my whole spiritual awakening. But my daddy passed away. I was literally like, at one point, I got addicted to sleeping medications because I was so depressed. I missed my dad so much, but I would dream about him when I went to sleep. So I was accidentally addicted to sleeping meds because I was just trying to stay asleep because I knew whenever I went to sleep that I was going to see my dad. Eventually, that became dangerous for me, and he literally stopped coming to me in my dreams. Like I stopped seeing him. But all of that started my whole spiritual awakening. And it started a little bit at a time. Like I noticed that I was very sensitive. I had always been sensitive to energy, but I never knew what it was. I never knew anything about energy. I never knew anything about the spirituality. I never knew anything outside of being a Christian because that's what I was. And that's how I grew up. But my life just started just changing. Like in that time, I remember going through so much trauma. Outside of losing my dad, I had lost my apartment. I was living with my sister. And actually, at that time, I was living between my sister and my grandmother's house. I was living at my grandmother's house, but it was a little difficult living with my grandmother full time because she was battling some mental issues herself. So I would take care of her, and then I would sleep at my sister's house because my grandmother wouldn't allow me to sleep at all. Like she would wake me up and everything while I'm trying to sleep at that time. She's passed, but that's what I dealt with there. So I remember one day though. One day I was taking a nap. No, actually I was, because I worked overnight. I was asleep at my grandmother's house. This is actually before I went ahead and started staying at my sister's house because of my grandmother not letting me sleep. So I'm asleep for work during the day because I work overnight. I'm laying in the bed, and the bedroom that I was sleeping in was my uncle and my dad's old bedroom from when they were kids. And literally, it still had the bunk beds. They were separated. It was a type of, but this is how old it was, how long ago that they had those bunk beds. They were the type of bunk beds that you probably will never see nowadays. I'm sure you won't, because they were able to be separated. Like you literally could stack them and unstack them, and they could be twin beds. Fancy, huh? For back then. But yeah, that's what the room I was sleeping in was, my father and my uncle's old room that they grew up in. And I never felt anything like strange in that house. My grandfather passed away in the house some years before this at that time. I can't remember the year my grandfather passed away, but it was some years before at that time. So I'm laying in the bed and I'm asleep. And the way the beds are positioned, there's one bed literally there's a head of a bed facing vertical, and then horizontal there's the other bed, and they're so close that they're almost touching. So there's no room really to stand at the head of that bed, or foot, or whichever way you wanted to call it. But I was sleeping at that side of the bed that was almost connected to the other bed. So I'm laying there and I'm asleep, and I feel this tap on my pillow, and I know that the bedroom door was locked. So I know my grandmother couldn't have gotten in because there was no way for her to get in because the door was locked. So I feel this tug and tap on my pillow, and it woke me up. But I was taken aback by it, but at the same time I'm like, okay, ooh, because I look at the clock and now it's I what happened was I had slept either past my alarm or I didn't turn the alarm on. Either way, I was about to be late getting up for work. So this happened. The tug or the tap on my pillow happened, and then I get up and realize that I'm about to be late for work. So at that moment, I'm like, wow, what the heck just tugged and tapped my pillow? I'm thinking that, but it's not registering to me because now I'm getting ready, in a hurry to go to work. That was that incident. From that on, from that point on, I start feeling like I was just more sensitive. And then for some reason, like everything in the algorithms online was showing me spiritual stuff. Like I started learning about mediumship, which my sister, my older sister, has always been a medium. She would talk about it, but not very much to where I just like fed into it. And actually, I never thought she was crazy. I just didn't pay attention to it really when she would say it, because also I had a boyfriend and he would say the same things, like he was a medium as well. And back at then, we didn't know the term medium. We didn't know what it came with. We didn't know. All they knew is that they could see people who were no longer with us, or they could speak to people who were no longer with us. That's all they knew, and that's all they told me. And I never, like I said, I never thought they were crazy. I just didn't. I didn't buy into, like, I just didn't really tap into that at that time. But after that happened that night, where the something had tapped on my pillow, which to this day I believe it was my grandfather, because as I mentioned, my grandfather had passed away in that house, so I believe it was my grandfather. And at that time, I don't think, when that happened, I don't even know. Yeah, I would say I believe it was my grandfather, because actually when that happened, I'm not even sure my dad had passed away yet, because my dad was still alive when I was living between my grandmother's house and my sister's house. So the actual breakdown of my life probably started happening before, or right before my dad passed away. I think that's when I had lost my apartment, and it was, everything started happening then. But still, with all that, the timeline mix up, I'll get that correct whenever I sit down and do this mini docu series about this, because it's, trust me, it's going to be very interesting. This is a story that I have never told, but it needs to be told, because I got to get it up off, for me, for one, for healing purposes, and for two, I know that it's going to help other people, so I really want to get that out there. And my life was like a real life. If you've ever seen First 48 or Cold Case or any kind of show where they are doing investigations on murder cases, trust me, I experienced everything firsthand, all the way from the beginning to the end. So it's going to be very interesting. Please stay tuned. It's going to be right here on this YouTube channel. But so at that point of my life, I started experiencing a mediumship that I didn't recognize as being a mediumship. I just recognized it as, okay, now I'm starting to see, feel things. I'm not seeing anything at that point. I'm starting to feel things that I didn't feel before. I'm starting to feel people's energy more heavily. I'm starting to be really in tune into spirituality. For whatever reason, it's coming across my feed on social media and everything. And I'm starting to see and be introduced via the internet to people who know more about it, who I can listen to. Like at that time, or probably a little bit after that, I got introduced to Quatita Dean, which is a well-known, world-renowned medium. Um, and she helped me, just me being in her community, that helped me understand a lot about spirituality. It opened me up a lot. But the more and the more time I put into focusing on, okay, this is a thing. Now at this time, I know that there's a thing called spiritual awakening. I might understand what all goes into it. However, I'm intrigued and I'm learning more about it. So I started learning all of these things about spiritual awakenings and mediumship and tarot cards and all of the things. And at one point, I just was like, okay, I'm questioning Christianity a lot and I don't understand it. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to fall back from that And I'm going to consider myself a more of a spiritualist because that's what I'm feeling more drawn to. And I have so many unanswered questions about Christianity. I just kind of fell back for it. I never denounced it, but I just kind of fell back from it and started focusing more on like the spiritual aspects of things and energy and all of that. And then fast forward, I went through the phase where I was what you would probably call a mini baby wannabe witch, where I started, learning more about like hoodoo and voodoo and all of that stuff. And I was very intrigued about that. And I mean, I've been through all the stages. I'm saying all of this to say that I've been all through all of the stages of an awakening. And this was my, everyone's process is not the same, but this was my process of getting to where I am today. So I went through the phases. To fast forward and not make this story longer than it needs to be, I went through the phases of the awakening. I went through the phase where I was the mini baby witch. I'm thinking that I can do this and do that and do that. And I'm not gonna say thinking, because there are some things that, if type stuff. But fast forward, I'm getting more in tune with um I'm leaving like the practitioner part of it behind, and I'm getting more in tune with like, numerology, astrology, different things that are, it just went through different phases to where in this moment I'm learning about this, in this moment I'm learning about this. And the more people that I came in contact with on the internet, like then I'm gonna just fast forward to where now I'm listening to and watching the Bobby Hemmett's and the Dr. Delbert Blair's, Malachi Z. York, Billy Carson. I'm taking classes with Billy Carson. I'm taking classes with um, Dr. Phil Valentine. And there's one more that I'm forgetting, and forgive me because I really hate that I can't think of his name right now, but he's often seen doing things with Billy Carson, and he's in sometimes with Dr. Phil Valentine. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe. And he came from the music industry, and I can't believe I can't remember his name right now, but I'll get all those names and stuff when I, do a full detail. I just want to get on here and do this little yap session because I'm dealing with some things right now in my life to where I'm at another level of this awakening, and it's not even awakening now, I'm awakened. So it's like when you're going through your stages of awakening, certain things stop making sense to you. Like a lot of people, you will see they just completely just leave a 9 to 5 job because it doesn't make sense to you anymore. Yes, you need finances, but you start feeling like you're just closed in, and you're there's just more to life. And a lot of people take the hippie route and they just be like, oh, I don't need work, I don't need this, and I'll just find a way. And I'm not making fun of those people at no point. No, don't take that way. I'm not making fun of those people. That's what's for them is for them. That's their journey. However, I also have health issues. I got to have health insurance, and that's leading to where I am now, and why I'm doing this rant today or yap session today. So I had a 9 to 5 job. Well, for 18 years of my life, I worked for a company. 14 years overnight, and then the last 4 of it I was working during the day. And eventually, I left that company, not voluntarily. It's just I had actually went over my point system. It was a misunderstanding, but I was so butthurt that they would do that to me. Have After being working there 18 years, I just didn't even fight it. I just left. So I took 3 months off, and I wasn't working at all because I had so much money from leaving that company. I took out all of my 401k and all of that, and I had so much money. It just kind of took me over to that, that next job, which is the current job that I have now. I think, because we're gonna get there too. Um, so I've been on the current job for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in October. However, I have very serious health issues to where I have to take off. I do have FMLA, but here recently my FMLA was ran out, and it actually ran out before I knew it, because I was keeping track with it, and I end up losing all the information in my phone that I can no longer access anything in that phone. So I end up losing that information, and it's terrible trying to get in contact with that office because it's nearly impossible. I was even told that by our HR that it's impossible, almost impossible to get in contact with them. So make sure that I keep up with it. So none of that has anything to do with what I'm really trying to say. What I'm really trying to get to, because I want to sum this up. I don't want to drag this video out. I don't want people to click off and not listen, because what I'm saying is very important, and I believe that it's going to help people out who's dealing with this sort of a thing. I'm in a position in my life now, and I'm in a position in a stage of my awakened life to where I feel, I see, I know. It's like I know so much. I've literally done all the work. That's why I'm a life coach now. All of the things that I went through, I awakened to a purpose in my life to where I realized that all of this was setting me up for my purpose, which is now life coaching. I would do that full time, and that's my end goal is to do that full time and not have any other job or anything. I'm tethered to a 9 to 5 job because health insurance is so expensive, and I kind of use them as an angel investor for that, and then a cushion for whenever, because coaching is not, it's not, everyday thing. So I keep that as a cushion as well for financial, to take care of my needs, my financial obligations and needs. So I'm at a point now in my life to where everything, since I know, I see, I hear, I feel everything, it's so hard for me to be in an environment like the job that I work, or any job. I feel like not every job, but at least where I am now, it's hard to be in a space where you just feel everything. Like there's nothing, if someone doesn't like you, or if they feel some type of way, or they have an envy towards you, in this part of the awakening, I feel everything. And so it's hard. I have such high anxiety in that place to where it's like I can't explain this to my job of why I'm feeling it. Only thing I can do is I can tell them, hey, I go to their clinic, I've gotten the paperwork for my FMLA. So the paperwork says I have hypertension, and they're treating me as, they literally treat me as it's a dietary thing when I've been telling them it's anxiety. But I can't go into too much detail with them on why I get anxiety, because partially it's because of the passing of my father. And actually the anxiety started whenever we went to trial for the case in 2014. But it's partially because of that. And then the other part of it is because I feel, know, hear, see everything. Like it's hard to be in an environment where everything is happening. There's so many different personalities. There's so many different conversations happening. There's so many different feelings going on throughout the workplace. It's just a lot. So for a person like myself who is very sensitive to everything, all of the feelings, all of the energy, all of that, it's just hard. And for me, it's been terrible, but at the same time, I'm a person who, I never look at things like this is happening to me, rather it's happening for me. I know when it's time for me to uproot out of a place, and the spirit will kind of push me out. Like it'll literally just, everything will start happening to where it'll push me out. It happened to me at Walmart. Oh, I wasn't even gonna say the company. The company that I worked for 18 years was Walmart. Okay, y'all know now. But it happened to me there, and I feel like it's happening to me again at this place because I work such long hours. I don't have time to work in my purpose, and I've had to turn down clients because I just simply don't have the strength and the time and energy to put into that, in which that's taken away from my purpose, which is taken away from a lot of people's purpose, because it's my purpose to help other people with their purpose, right? And that's what I do. I work with creators. That's what I'm working with now is creators and people who have the eyes on them. Like I choose, and the spirit has placed me in that position because reach one, teach one. Basically, it's that. If I can take this person who has the eyes and ears and attention of all of these people, I'm helping this person, but in at the same time, I'm pouring in and helping to strategize this person's life, holistic coaching, what I do in different areas of their life. I'm doing this for them, and they're pouring it into all of these people. So it's like they're the conduit that funnels it into all of these people. So that's why I choose to work with people who are in that position. Now, it's not that I won't work with regular everyday people, because I will. But my main focus and priority at this time is to reach more people by working with people who have access to lots of a large audience scale. So, I know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I feel like I said, I feel like I'm being pushed out into I'm being pushed against the wall and smothered in this place to because I'm supposed to be exiting. Like I feel like once you stay past the expiration date of where you're supposed to be at a place, the spirit will remove you forcefully. And I feel like that's what's happening again because I know it happened at my last job. Because I was supposed to leave there a long time ago, long time before I did. But we have the yes, this is my spiritual journey. Yes, this is my purpose. Yes, this is my career. However, I have the frustration of dealing with these health issues. And I have to be tethered to a 9 to 5 job. I've looked into getting health insurance, paying for it. It's so expensive, guys. And I'm sure everyone knows that. Everyone knows what the economy we live in right now. It's so expensive. And it's just very frustrating. So I wanted to get on here and I wanted to vent. I wanted to vent. This is not a live session to where I just really got on here to teach. I'm hoping that someone gets something out of what I'm saying, but really this is a therapy session for myself. I wanted to vent. And I hope that someone else out there that's dealing with the same thing can relate to what I'm dealing with within whatever stage of your spiritual awakening you're in. I want to tell you because I know, although it's hard, it's very hard for me right now. And back when I said I think I still have the job, I think I still have the job because they called me and told me on Tuesday that I had used all of my FMLA hours, and actually 3 of the days that I called in were not covered by the FMLA hours. And in that phone call, that lady, the first lady who called me, because they called me twice, or 2 different people called me from 2 different areas of the company. The first lady called from the HR department and she said, "Okay, well, this is what happened. You've used all the FMLA, and so now it's on the points, your regular points, which I hadn't used any of my points in so long. It's like I should have all of my points back by now." So at this point, at this time now, because I'm so stressed out and so anxiety filled, which is why the doctor says I can't go to work if my blood pressure is at a certain amount or whatever, I'm having to stay home. So I've been home all week, Monday through Friday today. I've been home all week. So the second lady, I was calm. At that moment, I was calm and I was like, okay, and that happened on Tuesday. So Wednesday morning, I get up to go to work. My battery is dead, my car. Because we're having such an extreme heat wave to where my battery in my car is just dead. And yes, it might be time for me to get another battery because I haven't replaced the battery in a while. But it was running fine. No, actually on the Friday before the weekend, this past weekend, I actually went out to my break or to my lunch and my car was dead. And at that moment, I have a hybrid car. So at that moment, I'm thinking maybe I left the car on accident because my car's so quiet. I don't know when it's on or not. Just sitting in it, listening to it. I don't know. So maybe when I turned the car on to let the windows up, maybe I forgot to push the button completely and it was on. And that's why I said, now I realize that it was just the heat. But in that moment, when that happened to me, I ended up going back into work and having nearly having an anxiety attack. And I'm kind of glad that I did have that and they got to see that because they seen firsthand that I do deal with this and that this is a real health issue of mine, and because I haven't been back to work since that day. So I'm hoping that because I've missed these days and I know that they have a point system, but I'm hoping that because I've missed these days that some kind of way they can I know that there's a way that you can extend FMLA. I hope that they can do that because they see the severity of my health issue. I don't know. At this point, I'm like, whatever, it's whatever. It is whatever. If they terminate me, they just terminate me. I've already put in applications at other places because I've been trying to leave, you know. I put in one on the 4th, almost a month ago, and then yesterday I put in one. So I'm actively looking for another job anyway. However, they haven't called yet, so I'm still having to be weary of if I still have this job or not. All of this, what does this have to do with spiritual awakening and transitioning and all of that? It has a lot to do with it. It has a lot to do with it because within this cycle of where I am spiritually, I'm being squeezed and I'm being tested and I'm going through what I would like to call like a birthing process. It's like if you've ever had a baby, you have all these you have contractions and it's painful, and you know, you go through, sometimes we go through 24 48 hours of labor, and then comes the beautiful baby. You give birth into this beautiful baby, but before that baby gets there, you have all of these labor pains that you go through, and all of this long time that seems like an eternity. But then at the end of it, you get this beautiful baby, this beautiful bundle of joy that you now get to nurture. And it's your own little person, your own little human. You get to nurture it and watch it grow. And that's how I feel. And I don't want to start crying. I'm very emotional. I'm getting emotional. I can feel it. I think I'm going to end it with this because I'm almost at 30 minutes. Or, yeah, actually, I am at 30 minutes. I think I'm going to end it with this. And I hope that people have stayed along to hear this, because this is the message. This is what I want you to take away from this video. And this is what I want you to take away from my experience, because I feel like that everything in my life that I've gone through, I've not gone through it for myself, but I've gone through it so that I can help you and anybody else. Because if I help you, you can help somebody else. And when I help the clients that I have, they can help somebody else. So when I go through these parts of my life to where I don't know what's next, and I'm being stretched, and I have uncertainty on how I'm gonna do this and what's gonna come of this, my comfort in dealing with everything that I deal with is my hope, my highest hope, that anybody who I tell my story to, anybody who I coach, anybody who I pour into, they're going to get a comfort in themselves and a knowing that you're just going through the labor pains. But when you give birth and when you get to nurture that baby and watch it grow, it's going to be so good and so beautiful. And I want you to know that something beautiful and big is on the other side of all of the pain. I've experienced it. This is not my first time going through something, and this is not my first time coming to this, understanding, because I know this. It hurts in the moment. It's painful and strugglesome in the moment. But take this. Know that on the other side of all of your pain, on the other side, especially, and you don't even have to, even if you're listening to this video and you're not going through a spiritual awakening, or you haven't gone through these processes, even if it's just your regular life and you don't even believe, you might be Christian, you might be any other religion, you might be anything, I want you to know that on the other side of the pain, the labor pains, in the struggle, in the long period of time of waiting, there's a beautiful baby to nurture on the other side. It's always something better. The setback is always a setup. And I posted something on Facebook yesterday, and I said, well, I'm trying to remember. Oh, because I was laying in bed and it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and the song from Frozen was playing repeat in my head, just to let it go part, let it go, let it go. And I think what the spirit was trying to tell me is that I needed to just let go. I need to let go of the pain. I need to let go of holding on to this job, and whatever happens is just going to happen. But for me to understand that sometimes you have to let go to let in growth. That's what I posted on there. It was sometimes you have to let go to let in growth. So letting go, although it's hard, it's frustrating, it's scary, do it afraid and let it go, because I guarantee you on the other side, there's going to be so much growth. Again, going back to that labor and delivery analogy, you go through all those labor pains to raise and nurture that beautiful baby. With that being said, this is Ebony, Coach Sunshine, whatever you want to call me by. I love you guys, and I know that this is going to touch someone and help them, and that is the point. That is my purpose. Guys, I'm out.